last year? Raise your hand.
I didn't do anything, John. I didn't have to do anything.
Right, I know. And then we'll move over side or out of your way. Everybody, I don't know if you know who this is, but this is Sebastian. Again,
It's really nice to see you guys.
we really want to thank you again for really making the effort and the trip for coming. You're the greatest.
Thank
And
you.
I love you, kid.
I love you too.
Everyone, I'll leave it to Chris to get this started,
Yep.
and I'll be up in a few minutes. Great.
Did you want to say anything first, or we can go straight into it, or?
No, I just want to say thank you for coming out. I mean, some very loyal faces here. I haven't seen in a little while. Yeah, I mean, so thanks, because I know it's always a trip, and you never know whether you're gonna get a video that says I won't make it or anybody's gonna make it. It's like the worst thing in the world because we want to be here, but it's sometimes like it's actually Marvel that you should be mad at. That happens, but without them, none of us would be here anyway, right? So anyway, but thank you. That's all.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'll turn it over to you all. So if you have a question, raise a hand, and I will pick.
Can't wait to see how many things I can't talk about.
I wanted to ask you about filming The Devil All the Time in Alabama.
Yeah.
I recently moved there, and actually I saw y'all filming for
You
a
did?
little bit. Yeah, I went down. I saw you enter a old sheriff station very angrily several times.
Right.
I just wanted to know how that was, how you liked Alabama, all that.
Well, Robert Pattinson's in it. That's all I have to say about it.
Right.
The Bat. Okay. Well, he wasn't Batman at the time. I didn't even meet him. I mean, I don't know why I'm even saying that, but no, it was really cool. That was one of my favorite film experiences I had. I mean, it's such a great script, and it was like all these incredible people are in it. Tom Holland's in it. He's really great. I mean, I feel like was very sort of unrecognizable from the other alter ego that he seems to plays. I always describe that movie if No Country for Old Men was directed by like David Lynch. Like that's how I would. It's like a very out there sort of situation, but it's in Netflix, and I mean I think they wanted to get it done on time, and hopefully I think it will be next year at some point.
Did you read the book?
I didn't read the book because, as you know, I got thrown into it very last minute. Someone else was supposed to do that part, and so I only had 2 weeks to just kind of like get myself together, and it was the accent that I had to work on constantly, which was very. I'm still worried about it, to be honest. Hopefully, I got that right. And then the director said to me, "How would you feel about gaining weight?" And I thought, well, I don't know how much food I can eat in 2 weeks. By the way, you can eat a lot of food in 2 weeks. If you really commit yourself, you'll be surprised. But, it's like I wanted to, I had some help, here and there. But I definitely went to town on the pasta and the pizza.
A lot of hard.
Yeah, so.
Working hard.
We got one right there.
Thank you.
Hi. So this actually segues really well from that question, I think. What's the most intensive preparation you've ever done for a role? Can you talk through that process?
Oh, that one definitely led to some heart palpitations for about 3 weeks after.
Is it because of the timeline? Because it was just a contracted timeline, or?
Yeah, I think because I was so scared, like jumping into that, like without any time, and there was so many things to worry about in a way because it's a very different character for me, and so like it felt like there was an accent, and then there was like a physicality thing, and then there was the whole tone of it is very different, and so I was definitely worried. But I'm usually worried about everything I end up working on because it just becomes so personal, and you know, I've gotten better at it over the years, but you know, even this last thing I just sort of finished about 2 weeks ago took about 3 months of my life, and it was incredible. It was a great experience, and it felt very you know, like a growing experience, but then you sort of say goodbye, and everybody that you've become friends with just kind of disappears, and so it's always like a weird adjusting period.
All right, what do we got over here?
Hi. I was wondering if you had any book recommendations, because I read *Sapiens* and I really loved it.
Oh God. Listen, somebody told me, I haven't read it, somebody told me that there's this book called The Second Mountain. Apparently that's a really good book. Oh, I'm reading this book, Educated, right now.
Okay.
That's a really good book. I mean, that's a crazy book. That's gonna get made into a movie. Have you heard about that?
No, I actually haven't. What's it about?
It's a memoir of a girl who grew up on a mountain with her family. I don't want to give it away too much, but with her family and her journey, sort of like, in a way, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like The Road, and then sort of her journey from growing up with these very specific beliefs, and then kind of coming into the world and coming into her own, and it's I would definitely recommend that one. And then what else am I reading? I always read a bunch of self-help books. I mean, those are all great.
I'll take those two, it's fine.
Those are good too, yeah. You know what I would recommend to anybody is like, go look up something called The School of Life. That's a really good, and then they have all these books, they have all these, there's stuff online, on YouTube. I mean, it's really founded by this guy, Alain de Botton, and I mean, it's like fascinating because it's all about, you know, that subject, just like learning about life and stuff we don't really, like we're not really taught all the time when we were kids, you know. This always ends up getting very personal like that.
Thank you.
All right, I'll get back to that, but we'll start with that.
So how does fame affect your life? Do you get recognized?
Fame?
While you're doing stuff like
Are
this.
you a certain level with how much more it might put you out there? Is it, how's it been?
Well, you guys have seen some of how it's been, right? I mean, it's not an easy thing, I would say, at all, you know, especially because there are things you learn that, like, you just have no control over. You know, people at any point in time can go online and say whatever they want. They can attack your personal life, people that are in your personal life, without any knowledge. They can spread rumors, they can say all kinds of things. And you know, apparently we've gotten to this point now where everything you read on Instagram or internet is the truth. Like, how could you even think that's, like, you know, true? And so it's tough because that's sort of a part of it, you know, that kind of is really out of my control, you know, but there are things about it that are amazing, you know. Sometimes, like, you know, I'll be walking and this little boy will come up, or somebody will, like, kind of recognize me and have this personal sort of story or something that they've connected with, and then immediately, like, we skip through that awkward sort of, we're strangers, we don't know each other, and boom, like, we have something in common, you know, and then that's great. Like, you're like, wow, I helped someone or something like that. So that's the good part of it. And then sometimes you can, which is something I definitely want to get more involved with, you can bring attention to other causes and other things and other issues, you know, and I think that part of it is great. But the dark part of it, unfortunately, happens to be you know, you're just like this ball, like this target, you know, for at any point in time, and it's like, and it's unfortunate because sometimes the people that call themselves fans that are actually the ones that are doing more hurt than good, you know, but anyway.
I was a big fan of your movie, I'm Not Here. I was gonna see what really got
You
you.
might be the only
it
one
stuck
that
with me.
saw it.
It really haunted me. I was gonna see what brought you that role, and what did you think of J.K.? He was awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I loved working with him. I mean, I was always such a fan of his, and then I think that was the experience, was just wanting to work with him, and it was like this really interesting story about this idea that there's always like multiple parallels, you know. I mean, there's, right, if the question of how would life be, you know, we all came here today, so we made that choice, and now that sets a pattern in motion of events. But like, let's say we didn't come here today, and then what events transpire? And so anyway, that movie deals with that. I love that, and it's just a small movie. It was a little, you know, cool thing, and everybody in it was great, and you know, he's like definitely a legend. Thanks for seeing that.
Go back. I know. Yeah, go.
Hi.
I was gonna ask, so I know hopefully by now everyone has seen it, it's on Netflix and all over Apple TV, We've Always Lived in the Castle. Just kind of, what was your process for playing the character that my friends lovingly call him, Broke-ass Cousin Charles?
You know, yeah, like, again, that was another movie that I was like, oh, I love that movie and that experience, and I thought, you know, Thaisa and you know, Alex was so great in it, and I was so bummed like we didn't get more festivals and, you know, on top of it. And that's kind of like really the heartbreaking thing sometimes about this business, is like, you can be part of a really great movie or a fun movie, but like if it doesn't get seen, it doesn't, you know, but I just liked the idea of it, and I thought it was really intricate and interesting and kind of awkward, and it reminded me of Grey Gardens, which I always thought was a really weird documentary, and we shot in Ireland, and that was fun and different, and yeah, I was a fan of the director. It was a few things.
All right. Anybody in the back that we haven't? We'll go with you. We'll go with you, and then we'll go with you, and then we'll go back. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have a really nice singing voice. Would you ever consider like?
How would you know? This can't be about that little Italy stint. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Would you ever consider like pursuing a musical career?
Absolutely not. Come on, we're in the world of Harry Styles and all these.
That's the one you picked?
I don't know why I said Harry Styles. It's just because you know, this morning I was running and then a song came on and I was like, wow, what a song! And then I was like, it's Harry Styles, I guess. No, the answer is no. You know, that's a fun thing for me. But I would do like maybe a specific musical type and stuff. I finally saw Rocket Man last night. My God, he is so unbelievable in it. The scene where he's on the phone with his mother is just, I mean, like, so anyway, I see that and I go like, wow, like that would be so above my pay grade, but like at the same time, there's something, I just don't know what, I've never really trained my voice that much, you know, so maybe the right thing. If they ever remake Guys and Dolls, I would do it. Which they were. There was at one point they were going to do that, and I had an audition for it, and it was great, but like, you know. Yeah, that one, yeah. But it ain't going to be Phantom of the Opera.
All right, we'll go to you. Yeah.
I'm wondering if I'm the only person who's noticed this, and I'll come and take you and discuss this. When you played old Jeff in I, Tonya, you look so much like Matt Damon. Has it I actually took a screenshot of the thing that I
definitely not going for Matt Damon in the makeup trailer that day. But you know what? I bet you old Jeff would really appreciate hearing that if he heard you call him an old Matt Damon.
It was everything.
I think so. I don't know. It's that weird patching thing here. That was.
We'll go back here. You, yeah.
I just was wondering what it was like working with Crispin Glover.
Yeah, of course. Back to the Future.
Well, no, not even that. He's just like been in like all of his own projects and stuff like that. Like
Yeah, well, he's fascinating
Yeah.
because he was telling me, it was amazing, you know. I mean, he was telling me how, yeah, he actually does his own movies, and
Yeah.
and I was like, how do we see this? How do we see them? Or apparently you can't really see them. He travels and he has like a show, and then.
I saw it at a theater in Providence, Rhode Island, because I'm from that area, and
Okay.
like, yeah, and it was just amazing to go and see it, and like he has people that do things on stage with him and stuff like that. So
Wow.
it was just fantastic. So, and I know he's a very interesting person, so I just wondered what it was like working with him.
No, it was, you know, he was fascinating in the sense that like, but he would, like, we actually drove back and forth to set quite a few times, so I was, you know, in the car with him. But like, I don't know, I mean, no, he's actually very intelligent, he's very aware of like a lot of things. I mean, he is very specific. He was asking all of these specific questions about the character and the movie and the book, and you know, because we'd all read the book before the movie, and he, for me, it was just like, first of all, I mean, it was my second movie with him. He didn't seem to remember that, but no, he's in Hot Tub Time Machine, yeah, and so like, yeah, and but it was great because, yeah, I just, you know, a very cool guy who's like on his own path, and I just always respect anybody that takes their own path, you know.
I know you can hand up, yeah.
Yeah. With your work, you get to travel to a lot of places all across the globe. Do you have a favorite place that you've traveled to, that you've worked, that you just really fell in love with the city or the people? Or
Yeah, I mean, London's pretty good.
London?
Yeah, London's pretty good. I really want to go to Japan. I keep saying that.
Oh,
I
very
really,
cool.
I wanted to go to this Comic-Con. We can't. I really want to go to, I would go to South Africa again.
Oh,
I
very
haven't been there in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the, you know, things that makes, I feel like, you know, me very lucky is being able to kind of travel and see different places and see different cultures and like, you know, get out of that, you know, your bubbles or your comfort zone. And yeah, I mean, I still have to, I really should go back and try to work in Romania. I have to try and figure that out for my people.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a few, I guess.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
I do have a question. I have a little project, so I hope that all you guys help me. I introduce you to Little Seb. 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 This is you. Just look. Just read what he said. And these
And
people.
the Oscar for Best Actor in Leading Roles goes to Detach Here.
Yeah. Detach.
Detach it? Okay,
Just
well,
imagine that we are celebrities.
Okay.
And
Sebastian Stan. You guys are very Finally an Oscar. Listen, I mean, you gotta fight bears and crawl through like really cold weather to get these Oscars. I haven't done that. I don't know. I mean, it's very thoughtful and very sweet of you.
I'm trying to take some from the back real quick. Anybody back there? Okay. Oh, no? All right. We'll go right there. Yeah.
I was just wondering, do you have dual citizenship? Do you have your Romanian citizenship?
Why do you want to know that?
My daughter has dual citizenship, so I just think it's cool.
I do.
Hi, thanks for coming back to Houston. Do you watch This Is Us?
I've only, oh God. You know what? I've only, believe it or not, I'm ashamed to say, I've only seen the pilot.
Okay, well, it's related to that. Well, so, there was a scene released a few weeks ago where Jack Pearson, one of the main characters, he talked to his wife about how he lost his job. And the same day he got it back, thanks to his best friend, but he said it was a jolt. He said sometimes you need, something to wake you up or remind you what's important in life. And of course, his wife said that she didn't need a jolt when it came to him, which was so sweet. But I want to know, have you ever had a jolt in your career that reminded you of why you chose this profession?
Yeah, of course. I mean, absolutely, you know. I feel like I've been very lucky so far in terms of, you know, all my jolts sort of were sort of kind of like being inspired but I, you know, as opposed to kind of something that, I don't know, but I feel like I'm always at a constant jolt, you know, because I know how difficult like this whole job thing is. Like, I mean, it's just, and I know how lucky we are, like, that we get to do what we do, you know, in terms of, and I guess for me, the jolt, like, the biggest jolt that I experienced was all those years coming out of college and not being able to book a job, you know, but I do have a jolt where in 2000, for example, that I feel like it's applicable. Like in 2011, I was in a really hard place in my life, actually, and you know, I remember getting a call from, you know, my business manager at the time, who said something to me like, "Listen, I was just literally going to call you and tell you that in like another couple of weeks you're going to be bankrupt. Like you're not going to have anything, you know." And you know, I'd done some stuff by then, and you know, so it was, and not only that, like I had come out of like a really hard relationship, and like I was like in a place where it's just everything was just a question, and I think you're right. Like those things really do shape us because there's something that happens. I feel like to your nervous system. I feel like it just grows. You know, it ends up growing. Like whenever you're having a very difficult kind of experience, if you just keep getting up and pushing through it, I mean, there's something on the other side that happens, and I didn't know, like I really didn't know where my next job was going to come. I didn't know. I mean, I had agents. I was very lucky. I'd even done the first Captain America a year before, but I didn't know if they were ever going to hire, like, do another one at the time. So you just have to sometimes just kind of have to like ride that out, and I guess that all that does is just make me feel like I can't take this for granted, any of it, because I know what that side looks like. So, you know,
What was it like working with Meryl Streep?
It was very scary. Yeah, because, but she was really awesome and friendly and cool and kind of like classy and just one of those people that it doesn't get any, once someone like that is opposite you in a movie, like again, like there you go, like you go back to that moment and you go, that's a jolt also in itself, right? Because it makes me go like, here what I could worry every day about 1,000 things that are not happening right now, that I don't have, that I see someone else have, which is why I don't look at Instagram anymore unless I post something, because I'm sorry, but in my opinion, like it really skews your vision of the world, you know? Support your friends, support the thing that you want to do, but like, remember to be, I guess, grateful of the things that you do have, you know? It could always be worse. So it's like a moment like that for me really sort of stops me in my tracks and then makes me feel like, Well, it doesn't really matter if this, honestly, I'm sorry, if this happens or not. Because, you know, the moment's right here anyway. Like, I could argue and say I have made it then, right? I mean, like, this is the woman who's opposite me at this point.
You can still one of her.
Yeah, still one of her 50,000, you know, so it's like, it's all relative to perception and how you're looking at something. It has so many angles, you know? If you're just looking at it from one place, you're never gonna see the other sides of it.
She just looks awesome. She looks like she'd be like the friendliest person ever, even though a lot of stuff I read about her is more like she's like distant and not very friendly. But you see her, and I'm sure
She was very friendly with us. I mean, definitely hung out and you know, but I think it was we, the rest of us that were surrounded by her, that were more like terrified. You know, there's this one scene in that movie where like everybody's like at this dinner table, you know, and again, like that's like the one scene we're all together, and I think I had like 3 lines in the thing, and for some reason the director, who was amazing, he passed away since, kept coming up to me and being like, you're not quite getting it, you know, like the way that I feel like I want you to do it, and I would just be like, I'm wasting time, I'm wasting her time. Oscar winners at the table, I'm wasting, like, you know, and but even when she wasn't on camera, she was very like present and giving and generous and like, you know, and sometimes you don't get, sometimes actors don't, you know, they worry about the coverage on them, and then when they turn around on you, it's like they're not really there that much. But I was lucky I didn't have that issue.
Hi, I'm a teacher, and often I teach children that live in a very difficult neighborhood. You know, they struggle in high school, they struggle to get to college. I want to know if you've had any advice that you would like to give them to try and stick it out as much as possible.
God, I mean, what do I know about, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm lucky, you know, I mean, what do I know about something like that? I mean, I mean, the only thing I can think of is, you know, I guess like when I was in Europe growing up and we were moving a lot, you know, there was a lot of times where nothing really felt sort of like stable in any way. You know, you couldn't really kind of depend on any one thing or something. But I had my mom, you know, I had my mom who was very supportive and protective of me, and so I was lucky to have her, you know. But I think I feel like you got to pay attention to how old are they?
They're 15, 16.
Right. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be a teenager again. It's such a hard time, such a hard age. I would say, again, like I just have to go back to when I was a teenager. I really didn't want to be myself. Like I wanted to be someone else. You know, I was trying to change my name. I wanted to be named, funny enough, Christopher. Okay. Because it was such an American name. You know, but thank God I'm not one of the Chris's. Although it's probably really nice to be one of the Chris's. But anyway, you know, but like I was from a foreign country, I had like this accent, I was trying so hard, like I was so ashamed to speak Romanian, you know, I just didn't want to be different, and all I wanted to do was just be accepted. And it was around that time, you know, that age, that kind of like finally, I don't know, something happened where I started to go, you know what, like the things that really make me different, set me apart, like are the most interesting things about me, like are the things that I should be, the things I'm running away from are the things that I actually should embrace, you know, like that might be in my ticket. And so that's the only thing I would say is like if you're, you know, pay attention to like who you're looking at and what, you know, who are your friends and your parents, like what are your role models, like what do you spend time on, you know, are you coming home, are you on your phone all the time, are you looking at you know, somebody that's or are you paying attention to people that inspire you in a way, you know, are you reading a book, are you like, I don't know, maybe it's too hard, maybe you can't read a book, I don't know, but my point is I I think it's about paying attention to yourself and that awareness, you know, and hopefully, I don't know if that is helpful, but.
I have a lot of students who are, new from Mexico, so their English is very, not very good. They can't speak the language. They have trouble fitting in. And so, what you said, I think will really, really connect with them.
Right. Well, I was just recently, let me tell you this, okay? You can tell them this. I was just recently in Spain for my friend's wedding. And I got in the car and everybody was able to speak Spanish and get us to the destination. And I looked at myself like an idiot and I said, why haven't I fucking learned Spanish when I was growing up? So you tell them we should be learning Spanish. I could have gotten us there if I known.
We have time for one more question so we can start taking photos. Who hasn't? You've been having your hand up.
No spoilers, I don't want any sniper action here, but have you seen the script for the Winter Soldier, the Falcon Winter Soldier TV show? And can you tell us anything that you're excited about doing? Give us something, baby.
Give us something. God, I mean, all I see is like, it's like, imagine if like, you suddenly become aware of all the phones. And
we won't tell anyone, we promise.
Of course, only comicbook.com. We'll have that Fandemic tour. Yes, that confirms.
He is the Winter Soldier.
When you work it like that.
I'll tell you, I have seen them. Yeah, and I'm so excited about it. Like it's gonna be so cool. And
You have to read the script this time.
yeah, exactly. and kind of crazy but all I can say is that it's definitely very it's just new and different from what you've seen so far. I mean, it'll be totally in line with everything that has happened and what we've seen and so on. But like these characters are getting such a additional mileage, like in terms of like learning about who they are now, what they feel, what they're thinking, and there's a lot of action, there's comedy, there's there's going to be comedy. So I feel like you're going to be very happy. I think you're going to be very happy. There's some crazy stuff. There's some stuff you don't see coming from anywhere, and you're like, oh God. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your questions. We're gonna get organized right here, and then if anybody in an orderly fashion, we're just gonna run right here in the back.
We should tell Joe Macaluso to just do